Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Blind Gooner. Welcome to this very late post-match review. It's been a while since I've done a late show. I'm quite looking forward to this. Joining me to discuss the finer points. Well, I say finer points because there weren't that many. To discuss the points of today's game is Anthony from the Republic of Arsenal. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing good. Thanks very much for inviting me back, and apologies that one, we haven't done it a bit sooner, and two, we're doing it very late. My schedule is a little bit all over the place at the moment, but I'm delighted we could finally get around to meeting up again for a chat.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, and the last show, I remember the last show we'd done as well. That was a lot of people really enjoyed that show. They really got good positive feedback.
That's good to hear. Yeah, like I said, despite the results and things maybe going our way, I do try my best to kind of shed a positive light where possible. So I'll do my best again tonight. We'll see see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Just remember, guys, do hit that like button. It's really important. It helps the growth of the channel. And we will get to some of your comments as we sort of go through the various points. And don't forget as well, guys, there will not be any shows tomorrow. But on Monday, don't forget, I've got that brilliant interview with Fabrizio Romano dropping at 1:30 in the afternoon. So do look out for that. And do go and give that a watch. Really good interview. Had a lot of fun recording that. So that's coming up on Monday. Let's get on to tonight's game. What did you make of it, Anthony? What were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, do you know what? I probably should have seen the signs coming into the game. I don't like to read too into things. I'm not that superstitious, but I was kind of looking at maybe the couple of omens going into it. For some reason, I got a rush of blood to the head the other day. The missus was dyeing the hair purple. I thought it'd be kind of fun. Lockdown, something different. You probably can't see it now, but I decided to put a bit of purple hair dye in the hair just to change it up. And then afterwards, I said to myself, hang on, we're playing Villa at the weekend. Why am I putting purple in the hair now? Then after that, I woke up today, got up this morning, made myself a coffee, spilled it all over myself, scalded myself. So that was the second bad one. And then jumping in the shower and using using the mint body wash. And you know what happens, fellas, when you use the mint body wash downstairs, and you can use your imagination. So that was kind of my three strikes, I think. So coming into this game, I probably should have seen the signs that it wasn't going to be my day. But I looked at the lineup. No, on a serious note, I did look at the lineup, and I couldn't fault. I really couldn't. It was probably the strongest lineup he probably could have gone with in terms of the players that were available and the players that were showing the form. And as well, like we had a strong bench as well. You had like Ceballos on the bench, you had Martinelli, you had Aubameyang, and you had Odegaard. I'm not 100% how to pronounce it. We call him Erdegaard. So everything looked good, from a lineup perspective. And I'll be honest, I was confident going into that game, but I can see a comment there from Cheddars about me dyeing my hair. That's why we lost. So yeah, it could be just me. So I apologize. I'll never make that mistake again. From tomorrow, I promise I'll dye my hair red. So hopefully we'll get back to winning.
Yeah, it's and that's the thing. The lineup was, when I looked at the lineup, I thought, great, a really strong lineup. You probably couldn't really justify making any changes or like, I've looked at lineups in the past and I thought, you know what, I wouldn't have started him. I wouldn't have put him in. But today's lineup, I thought, you know what, Arteta picked it right. But it's just right from the get-go, isn't it? It didn't happen. It was just a stuttering start, and then conceding that goal, the way we conceded that goal, between Holding and between Cedric was just a bit calamitous, wasn't it? Really, and
Yeah.
it just kind of set the tone for the whole game, really.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. And like I said, actually, I guess another bad omen, as I said to you just before we'd started. I did have to do a little bit of work early today, and of course got a bit delayed, but luckily enough somebody linked me a stream and I had just enough time to catch the Ollie Watkins goal as well. So you know what, maybe it was just me. Maybe next week I won't watch the game. Maybe I'll stay away just until we get back to winner ways. No, but like you said, you're really, from Arteta's point of view, I think he definitely picked the strongest team possible. Again, maybe in hindsight now, like hindsight's a beautiful thing. Now you can look back and say, perhaps the performance, you could see a bit of fatigue setting in with the same players playing. You know, I wasn't seeing the same kind of zip out of, you know, the likes of Smith Rowe. You saw what happened to Thomas Partey having to go off. There's a couple of players out there. Again, I would have gone with the team he went with. I saw people coming into the game saying maybe he should have rested one or two, and that probably would have been the right decision. I know we'll get into it in a while, but I think when he made the changes, you could see the team kind of went up a gear. So, you know, maybe there was a case to be made for resting players, but it is difficult when guys are showing form. It is easy to overlook the fact that, you know, they're only human. Maybe they do need a bit of a breather. And as I said, I think 99% of us probably would have gone with that kind of a lineup.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like I actually you know, we'll come on to this a little bit later on, but I actually wasn't really happy with all of Arteta's changes. Some of them was just, there was a couple you could sort of see why he'd done it, but yeah, there was some that just didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to ask you, with the first half performance, where do you think it went wrong? Because right from the get-go, I didn't feel like we could, like after we conceded that goal, and maybe the goal took the wind out our sails a little bit before we even started, but from then on, I just didn't feel like that we would ever get back into the game. I was, you know, there wasn't a moment in that game where I thought, do you know what, we were really unlucky not to get anything from it. I didn't feel like that today. I just felt we was short. I just felt that we weren't quite clicking as a team.
Yeah, definitely. I think in a sense, I know I'll put my hand up and say that I think I was quite encouraged after the Wolves performance, the first half against Wolves. We started strong against them. You know, we played with confidence. It was probably one of the best first half displays I've seen from us maybe this season. I thought we were very, very good until, you know, the David Luiz situation. But this game, I think it kind of put into perspective that when we played Wolves, that was an underconfident Wolves who hadn't won for, I think it was 8 games, maybe coming into that. And you could see that they were completely off form and they didn't really have the same belief in themselves. I know Villa were coming into this game off the back of a defeat, but they just look a more composed kind of a unit. They look like they were a bit better drilled than Wolves. And I think they were just a bit better prepared for us than maybe Wolves were. And I think maybe it was a slight bit of false belief in ourselves. And, you know, maybe we expected we were going to have the same start to the game that we did in the last game. And of course, as you said, Villa hit us early. And I think the game plan completely went out the window. I think our lads completely lost self-confidence in themselves. And it just goes to show, despite the kind of good form we've had recently, I think the mentality is still lacking in the squad. I think we're still lacking the big characters in the team. And it's been an argument for a long, long time as Arsenal fans. We're saying there's not really enough leaders in the team. Okay, everyone is, when things are going well, everything looks okay. But it's the moment, we're faced with a little bit of adversity. That's when we struggle to pick ourselves up. And as you said, right from the get-go, we conceded, and we just never looked like we were gonna come back into that game at all.
Yeah. Comment here from Grant. He said he picked the right lineup, but always fucks up with his substitutions.
Yeah.
And Tom says players not good enough. Do you know what? I don't even think. I'm going to be honest. I don't even think it's the players. Like, I think the players are good enough. I just look at Arteta and I'm vastly. I'm not a big fan of Arteta, and I'm as the games go by, I'm running out of patience with this manager. If I'm being brutally honest, because you look at some of the certain things that he's doing, and he has got a better squad than what Unai Emery had. He's got a better squad, but yet he's getting nothing out of these players. And yet Emery had a worse squad and got more out of the players. I know it kind of fell apart towards the end, but I just look at things like that, and I just look, we're where we are in the table for a reason, because we are so inconsistent, and we've performed. We've badly performed for a majority of this season, and it's not good enough for us. It's really not.
Yeah, look, I can completely understand, why you would lose faith in Arteta. Like at the end of the day, I know we kind of went in fairly in depth with this the last time it was on about, his inexperience and that. And I definitely think that comes out when things aren't going well, and you see in the likes of his substitutions and that he often doesn't maybe make the correct decision. In terms of maybe the squad with Emery, having a worse squad and that, I think in large, for the most part, it's basically the same squad, really, when you think of it. Because he brought in a couple of players. I know he brought in Thomas Partey, he brought in Gabriel, he brought in Willian, Pablo Marie, Cedric Suarez, and Runerson. At the moment, it's a bit early for the Odegaard and Matt Ryan kind of, I think, to be included. But he's been quite unlucky, I think, trying to shape his own team. Partey has come in, and I looked into this a little bit earlier. Partey's injury record since he's come to us has been fairly crazy. And I'm not going to pretend, obviously I was aware of Thomas Partey and I'd seen him play Champions League and that, but I'm not going to pretend I followed him week in, week out before he was linked with us playing for Atletico Madrid. So I looked into it a little bit, and for Atletico Madrid in 2015-16, he missed 5 games from a hamstring injury. 2019-20, he missed 1 game with a hamstring injury. Since he signed for Arsenal, we've had 23 league games, and he's only been fit to feature in 11. But like that, in a couple of those appearances, as in today, he was taken off, and he had 1 or 2 others where he wasn't fit to complete the 90 minutes. So he's been quite unlucky with Thomas Partey, for one. Gabriel as well is a new signing. He was out with COVID and that. Willian hasn't worked out. Pablo Marie, he's been injured for a large part of his Arsenal career. Cedric as well, he had the injury. He's come into the team and he's doing okay. But I think for the most part, it's almost the exact same squad. I think I'm not defending the manager per se, and I'm not saying the manager is not accountable. Of course he's accountable. He picks the team, he motivates them, he involved with the training, the formation tactics, all of that. He's definitely accountable. I just think the same core exists, and whether you rate the players, don't rate the players, it's almost the exact same team Emery had. You have Leno, you have David Luiz, you have Bellerin, Tierney, Xhaka, you've Aubameyang, Lacazette. There's a huge core group of players that are still there, and this is kind of something I said earlier, that I think as Arsenal fans, with a lot of those players, I think maybe we put them on a pedestal, and they're not quite at the level that maybe we feel they are and want them to be. You know, I think there's a reason as to why you're seeing the squad decline kind of slowly every season. No doubt we have talent in the squad. We have some very good individual players. I just feel like, as I said, the character is kind of missing and the mentality. And I think, talent can only get you so far. We just don't have, that core of leaders. And I think I'm all for giving Arteta a little bit more time to, balance things out and implement with the players he wants to use. Like we've seen the clear out is starting. We've seen Ozil, Socrates, Mustafi, all the other names, they're all gone. It's going to take a bit of time for Arteta to replace those guys. And I definitely think there's at least another 3 or 4 probably need to be replaced. And the squad as a whole, it needs a massive, massive upgrade. I just don't think... I think the players have to be accountable as much as the manager. I just don't think a lot of them are good enough.
Do you know what worries me? And I completely get your point about the squad needs a massive overhaul. But what worries me with Arteta, and it was a classic example in today's game, is that when he made his substitute, he had a chance to bring on Martinelli, and he went for Willian. And again, we've seen the reason. It's just banging your head against a brick wall, because Willian come on and done nothing. And I was sat there today during the stream, and I was just thinking, what is he doing? Why is he playing Willian? There must be something in this guy's contract that he has to play, or at least come on as a sub, because it can't be tactical reasons. Because I tell you what, the guy's done nothing all season. The guy has just been absolutely useless, but yet he still gets in over Martinelli, who, okay, yes, he might not have done much either, but when you need energy in the final third, because let's be honest, in the final third, we were absolutely awful today.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful. But when you need energy, you bring on a guy like Martinelli. What you don't do is you don't bring on Willian, who just slows everything down, does nothing, and there must be something in this contract. So when I look at things like that, I just question Arteta. And if there is something contractual where Willian's got to play a certain number of games, then for me that's another red flag on the manager, because you're okay. If you've got a guy like Willian who says to you, okay, yeah, I'll join the club, but I need contractual obligation that I'm going to play. If I was the manager, I'd be saying, hang on a second, you don't dictate to me how many times you play. I'm the manager. I decide depending on your performance. So that for me, I just look at that and think Arteta's trying to be everybody's friend, and that's where he's getting it wrong. As a manager of Arsenal Football Club, you cannot be everybody's friend. You're going to upset some people.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would like to see Arteta be more ruthless when it comes to Willian. Like we've seen the club be ruthless in January, in terms of we've gotten rid of some of the players that have been hanging about for a bit too long. The Willian signing, I obviously I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know what's in his contract. I can only presume it might have been a little bit of naivety on the part of Arteta and Edu. Maybe the guys sort of showing their inexperience in their role, because let's be fair, they are still quite inexperienced in their jobs. I don't know whether Edu kind of said, I'm new in the job. I need to make an impression straight off the bat, and he thought this is an easy signing. I have the connections. He's an experienced player. He knows the Premier League. He has been successful in his 7 years at Chelsea. Arteta probably said the same. Probably thought, again, it's an experienced head to come into the team. It might help, with the youngsters coming through. Whatever he thought. I presume it was just a bit of naivety. Maybe it is something in his contract that he has to play, because I was like yourself today. I was saying this game it's ideal for Martinelli, because his energy, even if he wasn't fully fit, if you got him on for 20, 25 minutes, he would have done more running than William would have done in 3 games. I was scratching my head with that one, but I'm hoping now that, as I said, maybe Edu and Arteta might look at the likes of the Willian deal, and if it was just a bit of naivety, trying to plug a hole with a quick fix. Hopefully now they've got burnt from it badly, and hopefully they'll use that going into future negotiations and won't allow that to happen again. And I did say this before, like, I didn't like, Raul Sanyehi being around the club and was too friendly with Kia Jarabshin, and now that he's moved on, I'm just hoping now that Arteta and Edu have the final say now, and there's no one else, no third parties involved, and we might start seeing more clever. I think we can see with Odegaard and Matt Ryan. I think is a bit better thought out signings. You're not committing yourself financially. You're not committing yourself to the long term. They're experienced, decent players. But Odegaard is a bit younger, with the likes of Matt Ryan, and that. Maybe if that was Raul Sanyehi last season, for example, he probably would have been signing. We were linked with Neto from Barcelona, who would have been a big money signing, and he would have got probably God knows how much every week, and probably a 5-year contract. And so I'm starting to see things that look a little bit different to what we saw maybe a season or so ago. And this is why I'm sort of willing to give Edu and Arteta a little bit more of a benefit now of the doubt, and see what they're going to line up for us now in the summertime.
Yeah. Just remember, guys, do hit that like button as well. It's really important. Big up Gary in the chat from the Arsenal fan circle. Grant says here, a winning mentality starts with the manager. There was a moment in that game that Arteta was smiling, and this is the thing as well, and this is where I worry, because I listened to Arteta's post-match press conference after the game, and the one thing that was really concerning is that he said, we dominated the game and deserved to win. And I just sat there thinking, are we watching the same game? Are we actually watching the same game? Because I didn't think we dominated it at all. Yes, we had a lot of the ball, but we were doing nothing with it, which has been the story of our season. And I was just scratching my head at it, thinking, really, if you're that naive to think that there's no problem, then that's concerning in itself. And there was, listen, a lot of people would look at, and we're going to come on to this in a minute as well, but a lot of people would allude to, we should have had a penalty. Villa should have been down to 10 men. But when you take those decisions out of the game, and when you put those decisions aside for 1 second, and you look at our whole performance over the 90 minutes, we just weren't there. We honestly weren't good enough, and Villa was just all over us, in my opinion, and fully deserved the win, because we just weren't there. And these players, like I see Tom's comment there earlier in the chat saying that it's the players. It's not always the players. I honestly do think that this team is a better team than what Emery had. Emery finished in the top 5. I think Tyrone said it there, with Socrates, Mustafi, and Koscielny as a back 3. So I just think the team is good enough. Bar a few, bar maybe one or two, but the team should be good enough. And you know,
Well,
I
they
was on
definitely
the
should be better than how they're performing. Definitely, definitely better
but
than how they're currently performing.
but I was on the Highbury squad earlier, and Dan Potts made a good point that when people say Arteta hasn't got his players, you look at the players he's got. Thomas Partey is his player, fantastic player, and I know he seems to be injured, and we will come on to that in a second. But you look at it, we've got Thomas Partey is his player. You look at Cedric is his player, Gabriel's his player, Willian's his player. Who else we got there? We've got did I say Cedric?
Pablo Marie,
Yeah, Pablo Mari's his player.
Runerson,
Runerson's his player.
and then he has was it
Matt,
Odegaard and Matt Ryan now.
yeah, Odegaard, Matt Ryan is his player. So that's about 8 or 9 players. When you put all that together, how and there's a 25-man squad. How many more players does he need for it to be his squad?
Yeah, no, I can see, I can definitely see like that on paper. I know he has brought in a lot of his own players. I just think a lot of them players, okay, I'm not saying a lot of them are good enough, but the likes of, the ones that we know are a level above Thomas Partey, he just hasn't got into his stride yet. He's in and out of the team with injuries. He's obviously playing. When he's playing, you can see he's not 100% fit. Gabriel is the same. We know he's a level above some of the players that have been signed. Again, he had a very good start, and we've seen when he has a bit of consistency what he can do. Then again, he's in and out of the team, and he's a bit out of sorts. We know obviously Willian's not good enough. Pablo Marie, when he got a chance, he looked the part, but he's in and out of the team. I think a lot of the guys, in a sense, Arteta has been unfortunate with some of them. Like, we know Runerson's not good enough. We know Willian's not good enough. Cedric is okay. I don't think he's ever going to be any more than okay. He'll do a job when needed, but look, he's not going to be taking anyone's place long term. But like I said, Partey, Gabriel, Pablo Marie, I'm not bringing Odegaard or Matt Ryan into it at the moment because we know that they're good players, but we give them a bit of time to get playing. But those 3 players in particular, Pablo Marie, Thomas Partey, and who did I say the other one was? Gabriel. Sorry, I lost it there for a minute. Those 3 are obviously probably his 3 best additions, and they haven't really got a proper run in the team. Now, aside from Gabriel having that bit at the start. So, I don't know, maybe if you could get them into the team playing together on a consistent basis, maybe we'll start seeing a bit of change. But it's hard. It's been so stop-start for a lot of players. And like I said, I'm not here to defend Arteta. Look, I share the same point of view as a lot of people do, but I definitely am an advocate of giving a guy time. I think the argument is definitely how much time do you give him? Now, look, in reality, he's only just, what is he, about a year and a half in the job. It's not a long time for Arsenal is going to be a long-term project. We're not Manchester City. If it's not going well for us in the first 6 months, we can't come into a January transfer window and buy a new centre half for 60 million, buy a new striker for 70 million. We can't do that. We're trying to work within our means. We're gonna have to switch maybe our transfer strategy. We're gonna have to be a lot more clever. We're gonna have to identify young talents like Gabriel. They're probably not going to be the finished article for a couple of seasons, and maybe that is going to hurt Arteta in the long run because people aren't going to give him the time that maybe he needs to develop these guys that he brings into the team. It is a tough one. I do see both sides. And like I did say on another show, possibly Arteta isn't going to be the man that's going to, restore success and glory to the club. But Arteta might even serve a purpose if he can put the blueprint together for us and kind of set things up, get the ball rolling, maybe for the next man that comes in, whether that be in a season, 2 seasons, whatever. If we can get a blueprint, he might leave the club a little bit better set up for maybe someone with a bit more experience.
Yeah. And the thing is, and I've seen you guys are actually, this and is really the hot topic of discussion in the chat. So big up each and every one of you. But the thing is, Chelsea sacked Frank Lampard for less, and okay, yes, they might. The jury is still out on Thomas Tuchel and what he's going to do. And this is the thing as well. I just feel with Arteta is some of the things he does, I scratch my head at. And the longer and the longer we're out the Champions League, we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle to attract big players. And I know a lot of people are going to be scratching their head going, well, we got Thomas Partey. We got Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Those are isolated players. So those players, Aubameyang, you could look at, was maybe circumstantial that we got him because he wanted out of Dortmund, and at the time we were the only club to come in for him. I know Man City had inquired about him in the summer. The same with Lacazette. He was going to go to Atletico, and then they got the transfer ban, and that's why we kind of swooped in and got him. Thomas Partey, I think, you could probably say that, okay, we just paid the money. We just paid the money. But other big players, you look at other big players that we've tried to get, and they've just not wanted to come because they see the lack of ambition at the club.
I think, though, I can see the argument, though, that the longer we're out of the Champions League, or even potentially now the Europa League, you'll fail to attract the big players. But at the same time, if we're going to have a different transfer strategy, I don't think we necessarily need to be looking at these big names. If you look at that Villa team there today, I don't think many would argue that Villa team was better than us today. Now, whether they're a better team on paper, the fact that we spent more money on our players, maybe we feel our players are better. But if you look at some of their team, like, they signed Matty Cash, came from Nottingham Forest. The Ezri Konsa, like, these aren't big signings. Like Ollie Watkins as well. Like these are playing in lower divisions, and they're, to me, they're better than some of the options we have. So I think to progress, you don't necessarily have to be signing, these so-called, big money signings, Champions League caliber players. Like, we got lucky with Thomas Partey, but I don't think we need to be signing, Atletico Madrid players every season. I think there's plenty of other good options that are playing a little bit below us. Like we were looking at Buendia, and I know the fee was a bit crazy, 40-50 million, but he's a perfectly good player. And if you brought a player like that into your team, no doubt he's going to add something. And he's a guy that's playing in a division below us. I always use the Jamie Vardy kind of point. Jamie Vardy came from Fleetwood for £1 million, and look what he's done at Leicester. Like, there are good players out there. Just because you're not playing Champions League football doesn't mean you can't come in and improve our squad. And I definitely think for some of our squad, it wouldn't take an awful lot to improve. But I think we just have to be really, really clever with the players we acquire. We need to look in the right places. We need to, look at the mentality of the players as much as anything. Because as I said, we have a lot of talented players in our squad. Like, nobody's doubting that Nicolas Pepe has got talent. my biggest concern, Nicolas Pepe, despite his recent good form, like, has he got that mentality? Has he got that killer instinct? I think you can find that in the Championship. You can find that at teams that are supposedly below us, and you don't have to break the bank. You don't have to spend 60 million just because, again, using Pepe, you spend 72 million, but a lot of people would tell you he's not a great player. You'd sign a guy for 15, 20 million who could be 3 times the player. So I think, I don't know, people might not agree with me here, but as Arsenal fans, I think we have a snobbery at times when it comes to transfers. We always want the big flashy signing, the big name. We should be signing guys from Real Madrid, Barcelona. We should be signing guys playing Champions League football. I think we need to start looking outside the box a little bit and signing the players who are doing the job. Start looking at, again, I've mentioned him a couple of times, we looked at Ryan Fraser in around the time we went for Pepe. Now, Ryan Fraser had Premier League experience. He was a Scottish international. Okay, he was playing for Bournemouth. And maybe it wasn't the flashy name everyone wanted. And the fact that we could have got him on a free or a very low transfer fee, people automatically said, well, the 72 million signing is better because he cost 72 million. But Ryan Fraser had an awful lot of assists and he was playing well. I just think we need to look outside the box a little bit and not get too wrapped up in, what a big signing actually is. We've had plenty of players, especially going back to the Arsene Wenger days. Arsene Wenger was a master of signing guys who had absolutely, no big name, no big background, and turned them into absolute world beaters. So I don't see why we can't go down that path and do it all over again.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you to a point, because I've said that we need to stop being snobbish when it comes to certain players. But having said that, being in the Champions League will bring us more money, and the attraction of having Champions League football will bring better players, and not for nothing, not for just the players and the money. But we need, as a club, to be back where we should be. We should not be in the Europa League. We should really not be in the Europa League. And we've been there for far too long. We belong back in the Champions League. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, but we don't have the squad. We don't have the... Yeah, maybe so with the squad. But we actually, as a club, and for the sake of our history and for the sake of our future, we belong back in the Champions League. I just think that the longer we spend out the Champions League, and it's not just that, it's not just the European status as well, but we're just slipping further and further down the table as the seasons go on.
Yeah.
And some way there's got to be a cut-off point. Either the Cronkies have got to throw money at it, which I know a lot of people are going to turn around and say, oh, they don't spend anything. I disagree, because you look at the money we have spent. We've just not spent it in the right way. Mm-hmm. You look at you can look far back as 40 million on Ozil. Listen, that at the time everybody thought would be a great signing. Didn't work out. I think it was 25 million or something on Sanchez. Absolute fantastic signing. 35 million on Granit Xhaka, 35 on
Mustafi.
yeah. So you and then you look at 72 million on Pepe, 45 million on Thomas Partey. I think it's 45. Was it 45 million or 40? I think it was around that mark. I can't remember.
Yeah, 45. Yeah.
Yeah, 45 million on Thomas Partey, 27 on Gabriel. Those are just a few to name. But part of our problem is that we have not sold any players. Our players have just we've just cancelled their contract, or they've just been allowed to walk out the door for free.
Yeah.
The other thing is that we've just, like I say, we've completely messed up our contract situation. So players, like Sanchez, we just swapped him for Mkhitaryan, and Özil we gave that massive contract to. So I don't buy this whole the Cronkies haven't given us any money, because they have. They have given us money. I'm not defending them, because I think there's a lot wrong with them. I think they need to be more front and center when it comes to this club. But it's a myth for anybody to sit there and say, "Oh, they don't give us any money. They don't give us finances. They don't back us," because they've backed us. And part of our problem, the problem with our recruitment, and we've slightly kind of gone off the game, so we will get back to the game in a minute. But the part of the problem with our recruitment is that the Cronkies know nothing about football. So you've got somebody like Ivan Gazidis, who we've had for years, just probably went to the Cronkies and go, "Oh, Arsene Wenger wants to buy this player." And the Cronkies have gone, "Okay, yeah, fair enough." Whereas if you had somebody that owned the club, that knew about football, they could actually turn around and go, "Actually, I don't think this player is good enough. I think maybe we should go for this player." So the Cronkies not knowing anything about football is probably part of the issue, but I wouldn't say that they're the complete issue at this football club.
Yeah, again, that's something that we spoke about the last time I was on. I think this is what you get when you have an absentee owner who doesn't have any interest. At the end of the day, all we are is, we're a financial resource for him to enable him to pump more money into, his NFL venture. We're just here. We're here to try sustain his actual passion and his actual interest. And that, unfortunately, when you have an owner like that, like, he doesn't really, I don't think he really cares. I think he's only going to start caring about Arsenal when it starts costing him money. And at the moment, he's still making money off of Arsenal. And until that day arrives where, Arsenal is in the red and, Kroenke has to fork out money in order to sustain the club, I don't think he's really going to care too much, because we're still a massive global franchise. We still a massive fan base everywhere. And I think right now, like that, it's a case of, again, this is something we spoke about the last time, he's putting plasters on things. You need a director, and he's hiring a guy, and like that, you need a manager, he's hiring a guy. I don't think he has any clue about these guys' actual credentials. I don't think he's doing any background checks into it, because I don't think he really cares about the overall success of the club. As long as someone is in the seat driving the car, I don't think Stan Kroenke is overly concerned. As long as the figures are going up in the bank account, and as long as everything is going well for him in the NFL, I don't think he's too pushed about, Champions League or whatever. And again, he's an absentee owner, so it's not like he has to face the fans head on, because he's over there in the States, on his ranch, and he's nice and far away from the majority. But but look, that's probably another podcast altogether. Really, the Kroenke argument. I could probably go on all night.
the Kroenke argument. Yeah, that'd be a good show to do, actually. Maybe if football gets suspended again because of this pandemic, that'll be a good show to do.
Yeah, definitely. Let's hope not.
But with the I wanted to. So there's certain points of this game that I wanted to talk about, and the first one being is that, do you actually think there's a problem with our medical department? Because it seems to be that certain players get injured. So Thomas Partey, as we said, he came to the club, had no injury record, but yet he's had more injuries at Arsenal than he's had in his whole career. And then you look at a guy like Kieran Tierney, Again, the same thing. And they're both influential players, but always getting injured. And it's not just been this season that it's been a problem at Arsenal. This has been a problem for years.
Yeah.
When you look back on it. So do you think, because I actually think there's a problem with our medical department. I've said it for time as well. And I said it remember when they left David Luiz on the pitch and he had that he clashed with Jimenez and blood was just pouring down his face, and I was like, why isn't our medical team hooking him off? Why are you leaving him on? Why aren't you making a common sense decision and hooking him off?
Yeah, the David Luiz one was absolutely crazy. We could all see that there's no way the guy should have been allowed to continue. And it makes that decision even more crazy when you see how often players are injured for Arsenal. You know, it seems as though the club is probably a bit overcautious when it comes to player injuries. So to see that David Luiz was allowed to continue was completely mind-boggling. I think it was a couple of years ago. I think it was Robin van Persie went off to play with the Dutch national team. I think it might have been Van Persie, and he had picked up an injury at Arsenal, but still travelled to meet up with the Dutch squad. And after being assessed by the medical team there, one of the doctors had come out, or the physios had come out and said it was a problem with Arsenal as a club and their mentality, saying that if a player picked up a knock, automatically, you know, the Arsenal medical staff were saying, right, well, that's 2 weeks off you need. And the guys were saying, like, that's crazy. Like, these players are good to go. Like, the slightest sign of a knock or an injury, they're saying take 2 or 3 weeks off, you know, miss the next game. And I think it's still like that. I don't know whether they just have this idea in their head that, you know, players can't push the boundaries a little bit. Like, you look at Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka is fit to play week in, week out. He can play 90 minutes every single week. Never seems to get an injury. But for some players, I can't understand. Like, the slightest sign of a knock and they're out for a month. It just doesn't make any sense. Maybe it comes down to the mentality of the player. Like, maybe Granit Xhaka, you know, love him, hate him, he obviously loves playing because he's always available, no matter what. Like, you'll see Granit Xhaka pick up a knock on the pitch and he still plays on, and then he's fit to play the next game. You see other players take a knock, you know, they're down and they're signaling to the bench, you know, time to come off, and then they're out for a couple of weeks. I don't know whether it's nowadays maybe players are protecting themselves as well and maybe looking after their own career. And it could be just that mentality in around the club, you know, where players are sort of saying, well, look, for career longevity, you feel a bit of a knock, you're best off taking a bit of time off because you're on a nice contract here, you know, X amount every week. You've got 2 or 3 seasons left. Keep yourself fit enough to play that you'll get your contract extension. You know, it's cushy here. It could be just something like that. I'd like to think that's not the case, but we've heard so many stories going back that it's hard to think otherwise. You know, Arsenal became known for a long time as kind of a nice, cushy place to be, you know. So I still think some of that definitely exists in around the club.
Yeah. I just think we've just got some massive problem with injuries right now. You know, with this injury situation, it can't be a coincidence. It really can't be a coincidence with all these players that just constantly get injured.
Yeah, it just seems like maybe we're just a bit too overprotective. You know, it's the same players the whole time. And like you said, with Thomas Partey, maybe that goes to show, as I said, the mentality. You know, Diego Simeone would probably be the type of coach to say, you picked up a knock, yeah, you're fine. Go on, you're fine to play. I'd imagine he's a different mindset, because I think as a player he was kind of that type as well. You know, that kind of Argentine sort of just get stuck in and play kind of mentality. Maybe that's just what's lacking in around. Maybe look, we're just a bit too nice at times, aren't we? We're too nice on the pitch. We're too nice off the pitch, and you know, I think this is as I think as someone said in the chat earlier, like this mentality starts at the top. So if this is
Yeah,
what's coming down through the ranks, and this is the way the young players are going to come up, and they're going to be probably told, okay, you got to knock your best off, take a bit of time out, protect your career, whatever else.
yeah, definitely. I guess it's one of those, isn't it? The club need to sort that out because it's becoming a
Yeah.
real problem. There's two incidents as well in the game that I want to go back and talk about. So the first one was when Saka was through on goal, sort of at the halfway. He had a chance to cut in behind, but the Villa player was the last man, and basically sort of similar to what David Luiz done on Tuesday. Do you think it should have been a red card? Because I'm thinking it doesn't matter how far up the pitch um, the last man is. If it's the letter of the law says if it's the last man, then it should still be a red card. It doesn't matter that it's high up the pitch or what do you think about that? What do you make of that whole incident?
Yeah, my understanding of the rule was that if you were the last man and you bring a guy down, it's an automatic red card. I listened to what the officials had to say afterwards. I think it was Peter Walton, was it, in the BT studio, and he was saying that the rule is if he's clearly true on goal, and I guess it's a case of whether or not you interpret it. And I know, and I think everybody knows, if Bukayo Saka is another step ahead, he's gone, and Konsa's not catching him. We all know that. If it was the other way around, and it was Ollie Watkins maybe or Jack Grealish, and he had the run on Holding, we know Holding's not catching him in that kind of situation. Unfortunately, this is where I think the rules are there to suit the situation, in order to kind of protect the referee. The referee makes his judgment call, and of course we're all saying, well, look, player's true on goal, and then they pull it back and say, well, technically because he's X amount of yards away, he's not clearly true on goal. And I think this is where David Luiz, they had the argument for the red card because they're saying because he's in the penalty area. I can understand what they're saying, but like I said, my main problem with the rules is there just seems to be no common sense. Like, okay, you can make the argument because he was that far away from goal. Technically, it's not an obvious goal scoring chance. But as I said, common sense will tell you he's not catching Bukayo Saka from there. So it is a frustrating one. I thought it should have been a red, but look, what do I know? I'm not a referee. Obviously the referees think differently, but it's frustrating. It is frustrating, especially just after going through the David Luiz one as well. I think it hurts that little bit more because we feel a little bit hard done by that one, and now we've got this one as well. So sometimes it just feels like the decisions are stacking up against you. So it is frustrating. It really is.
Yeah, just want to pick up on a couple of comments. So Grant says, what type of pitch is it they train on? Is it AstroTurf? Because AstroTurf causes long-term injuries to players. I'm not entirely sure.
They do have. I'm going to give myself a little plug here. When I was younger, I did have trials with Arsenal. I'm just saying, and they do have at Colney. There's outdoor pitches, and they do have indoor Astro pitches. And obviously, depending on the weather, you will do a certain amount of training out on the pitch, but a lot of the training is actually indoors. So, like a lot of the things you'll see on the photographs, that's just when they do the outdoor work. But they do an awful lot on the indoor AstroTurf. So that could be what leads to it. Like there is a lot of AstroTurf work done.
Yeah, wow, I didn't know you had trials with Arsenal. That's
That was a
mad.
long time ago. That was when I was about 13, I think 12, 13. So a long time ago.
Yeah, that's mad. And the other incident in the game, Lacazette should it have been a penalty? Martinez, in my opinion, Martinez had hold of his shirt, and it should have been a penalty.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, looking at it at first, I said, look, it's one of those two players came together, and I thought keeper made a bit of a meal of it, as they do. And then the more and more I watched the replay, and I seen the still shots and that, you can see, I had people, I had people talking in a group, and they were saying, no, Lacazette fell the keeper. You can see he leans in, but before Lacazette even comes close to Martinez, Martinez has already got a hold of Lacazette's shirt. So to me, Martinez pulls Lacazette, and then it's, I guess, the easy scenario. The goalkeepers are so protected nowadays, and again with VAR, you've only got to show contact, I think, to sort of say, well, it was a foul. If you can just show any form of contact, it's a foul. The keeper, 9 times out of 10, gets the benefit of the doubt. A keeper will fumble the ball in the box. He'll make an absolute meal of it. But if he can, get himself some kind of contact, fall to ground, he's getting the free out every single time. And I think that was the case again. I think, I don't think I can't remember. I don't think did it even go to VAR? I don't think it did.
I think they checked it, but I think they might have checked it. Or was it the Saka one? It might have been the Saka one. I don't even think this one went to VAR. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I've pretty much blocked out a majority of this game because it was so poor.
I don't think it went to VAR, and I can only presume like that they just said contact with a goalkeeper, it's a free out. Like I said, 99.9% of the time, any contact with a goalkeeper, they're going to give it to the goalkeeper every time. Like you see it with a goalkeeper trying to catch a ball, trying to catch a high ball from a corner. If the attacker in any way challenges for that ball, if the keeper doesn't have it, all he has to do is hit the deck, and he's getting a free out every single time. They're a little bit overprotected, I think.
Yeah, I actually think, I don't know. I don't know. Like, maybe I'm being a little bit over, maybe a little bit harsh because obviously Martinez, was our player and that. But
yeah, well, look, that's why I don't want to be harsh, because I really, really did like Emi Martinez. I still do. He's still a great keeper, and I don't want to be harsh on Martinez. But look, I believe Martinez was at fault.
Let's have a look here. What have we got in these comments? Steve said the Saka one wasn't a red card because he wasn't the last man. There was a player in the middle of the pitch that could have got back and prevented it, so it wasn't a clear goal scoring opportunity.
Yeah, that was the argument that they were saying, because it was so far away from goal, that technically a player could have got there first. But like I said, I think we all know Saka was true, but they're the rules, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess so. Where do we? So just on the game, another thing. What did you make of Odegaard when he came on?
Yeah, he looked bright. He had a very good chance at one stage, a very, very good chance that he smashed over the bar. But positive signs. It is hard, a new signing. It is hard. You have to give him some time. I do think that he'll probably start the next game, provided he stays fit to do so. I just think he's going to rest Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe looked a little bit leggy. A couple of players out there looked a little bit leggy. I can kind of see a bit of fatigue starting to set in. So I'd be really, really surprised if he doesn't give Odegaard the next game, and especially with the last two results going against us. I think he's just got to switch it up a little bit, get some fresh legs into the team. And I think, whether he made the right or wrong substitutions today, I think they definitely did give us a bit more energy, and we were a lot better in the second half. again, we just didn't do anything with it. We were better, but we didn't threaten in front of goal. I think all game we only had 3 shots on target from about 14 attempts. So again, it's all well and good. Like, I think this is what annoys people about Arteta. Arteta, I think he uses statistics and gets them a little bit confused with domination. Like, yourself, statistics don't always tell you a full story. Like, you can have 70% possession. Doesn't necessarily mean you dominated a game. You could be playing that around the middle of the park and not getting any shots on goal. It doesn't necessarily mean you dominated. And I think that's one of Arteta's biggest flaws. And I don't know whether it's just he's inexperienced and with the press conferences and that, and maybe it's a defense mechanism. He's going to come under a bit of fire, get some criticism from the press and that's his way of firing back to say, well, we dominated. We had 20 attempts on goal. I know only 2 were on target, but the other team only had 10. So yeah, I think that's what frustrates people.
Yeah. And looking ahead, where do you think we go from here? Because we've got some tough games. We've got Leeds, Man City, and Leicester, and then obviously Benfica right in the middle of that.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to. It's hard not to look at a run of fixtures and say, I think we'll win here, we'll draw here, we might lose here. I think we just got to take it game by game. I really do, because I know when I've looked at fixtures in the past, take Chelsea for example, when we were on that poor run of form, I was looking at the Brighton game as the one where, okay, we need to start picking up points from here. And I sort of overlooked the Chelsea game. And we went in and we got the 3 points, and then that set us off on a run. Looking at these fixtures, I was looking at Wolves and I was saying, yeah, we should get something there. And I know decisions kind of played a part in what happened. I still thought we were going to bounce back today, despite the fact that Villa absolutely dominated us the last time we played. I just thought we were going to come into this on a complete different mentality, different setup. I think we just have to take it game by game. Leeds, I thought, were very good against us the last time, and we drew 0-0 with them, but they probably should have won that game, So if we show up and we show up with the right mentality on our day, we can beat anybody. It's just showing up with the right mentality and showing up from the start. It's our biggest problem. We're just notoriously slow starting games. And that was the big difference in the Wolves game. That's why it was such a good performance. We got into that game from the kickoff, and you could see, we dominated from the beginning, and we just don't do that enough. We leave it too late in a game. We leave it till the second half when, we're practically out of tie anyway, So I think it's about our mentality from here on in. This is where we need to see the characters come out. Backs are against the wall now. The guys they're under pressure. They need to get results. So again, look, I'm kind of just taking it game by game as best I can.
Yeah, that's it. I've always said as well, you've got to take it game by game. You can't look ahead too much.
Yeah.
Because you never know, and this is why I wasn't getting carried away with this mad run that we've been on, because what happened this week with Wolves, and maybe not so much the Wolves game because we were a bit unlucky, but certainly this game was just so Arsenal-like. But you just never know whether we're going to show up or not.
Exactly, and that was, it worked the same way when we were on the poor run of form. Okay, look, it was 7 games, it was a long period, but again, even through that, I was trying to take it game by game, because look, a bad run can only last so long, a good run can only last so long. Like, it all has to come to an end eventually. I think just the most frustrating thing from an Arsenal point of view, and I think this kind of used to go back even to some of the Wenger days as well. For some reason, we don't just lose a game. It seems to always be 2-3 games. It's always back-to-back disappointments. We're not very good at, suffering a setback and then bouncing back the next game. And that's something that we really, really have to change. But again, I think that comes down to mentality. Now, it's easy to say that's the mentality of Arteta, but that happened under Emery, that happened under Wenger as well, and I still say a lot of them players are still the same. Go back to Wenger's days. You've still got Bellerin, you've got Xhaka. Okay, we got rid of a lot of the Wenger players, Mustafi and the O's and that. So it is starting to change. So again, comes back to clever recruitment, different mentality of player, and I think that's maybe how we change things going forward. Maybe for the long run, anyway.
Yeah, definitely, and I guess it's going to be interesting to see how things play out now, isn't it? It's going to be very, very interesting to see how things play out over the next couple of games, because it's going to be a big month for us. It's going to be a massive month, and we do have to find a way of winning.
And it's historically a fairly bad period for us, isn't it? February, March. It's usually not great.
Yeah, and then after that we go on famous runs, and then we usually do well towards the end of the season. And we definitely need to throw all into that Europa League, because Europa League is our best bet now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Again, from a recruitment point of view, as I said, I know like the argument is, if you've no European football, it is harder to attract players. And the last couple of seasons, of course, people were throwing out the scenario, look, would you take missing out on Europa League if it meant concentrating on building for the long term? And I always said, no, look, we at least need Europa League, because whether you like it or not, it is still European football. This season, I'm not confident that we're going to end up in a European spot due to our league finish. And I still think there's probably teams in the Europa League that are better than us. Like on their day, Benfica can definitely punish us, especially if it is. I think it's only going to be, it's a neutral ground, and I think it's going to be just over one game, as far as I know. So it's like a cup final. Anything can happen. Maybe we might benefit from taking a season out of the Europa League, in a sense that we'll have less fixture congestion for next season, and it might help us with injuries, and it might help us just focus more on our league form. Again, I know you've got the argument, you need European football for the financial situation and that, but if it forces us maybe to recruit a bit more clever, we don't need to be going out splashing silly money on the wrong players. We've got to be really, really smart now.
Yeah, and I hope it'd be interesting to see. It's certainly going to be a interesting second half of the season. It's certainly going to be an interesting second half to the season, because we have literally now only got the Europa League. But it is, we just have to, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, and maybe in a month's time it could all look very different. It could look a lot better, or it could look a lot worse. Big up everybody in the chat. Please do hit that like button. Please do hit that subscribe button. Don't forget, on Monday I'll be dropping that interview for Fabrizio Romano, so do check that out at 1:30 UK time. Anthony, listen, we've reached the end of the show, but I want to thank you for coming on. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Again, I'm sorry we couldn't make it happen a little bit sooner. My schedule is a little bit all over the place. I wish it could say it's because I'm in demand for chats and channels, but it's not. I've a 5-year-old running around the place causing havoc, and I'm still doing a little bit of work, so that's what it is. But no, I'm delighted. I'm delighted to be back on the show, and look, I'd love to do it again.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, any time, and it'd be good to get you on a watch along at some point as well.
Yeah, definitely. This is where the Europa League will come in handy, because we have the late nights, and I'll make sure we have the little one in bed.
Yeah, definitely. definitely. Maybe for that Benfica game.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
great.
definitely.
Um, so yeah, guys, do hit that like button. And yeah, for those of you that have joined late, don't forget I will be taking a day off tomorrow. Listen, it's been absolutely insane today with free streams. The watch along was like 3 hours long. Then I was on the Highbury squad, and that was sort of like an hour and a bit. And then this stream was like an hour and a bit. So literally done about 4 or 5 hours streaming of YouTube. So yeah, so tomorrow I'm taking a well-earned day off. But don't forget that show with Fabrizio will be dropping on Monday. And then Tuesday, I'm not entirely sure what I've got planned for Tuesday, but I'll keep you guys updated. Remember to hit the like button, hit subscribe if you are new. And Anthony, just before we wrap up, do you want to give your channel a shout out?
Yeah, so if you're not sick of listening to my voice and you want to check out a little bit more of my content, you can find me at the Republic of Arsenal. So yeah, come on to the channel. I do a couple of live videos here and there, sometimes a little bit impromptu, not as well planned as yourself, Daniel. But if I'm on, definitely come on and say hello and throw a few comments. Yeah, I'd love to see you there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Listen, I checked out your video that you done earlier as well with the you done that little video post match manager
Yeah.
video. I checked that out. But yeah, do you know what it is though? Like it's so mad because I'm subscribed to so many people, and then because I'm doing this channel, then I get invited on a couple of other channels, and it's so hard to watch stuff live as well. I end up watching most
Yeah.
of the shows on playback, so it's really difficult.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You know, like, I'm the same. I subscribe to so many people, and it's so hard to narrow down because there's such good content out there, and there's so many good YouTubers and podcasters, and like that. I don't have favorites. You know, I have a whole group of favorites, and I'm trying to watch a bit of everybody, and you know, I've so many, and like that. You could be sat in front of the computer for 10 hours a day trying to take in all the content.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, listen, guys, we are at the end of the show. Listen, thank you to everybody who's contributed in the chat. Thank you to everybody with your fantastic comments as always. Listen, guys, apologies as well. This has been a bit of a late show. It's been quite fun actually. I've not really done a late show, but so yeah, nice audience. I know for you guys over there across the pond, I've catered for you a little bit more because prime time for you guys. And I know that there's a couple of people missing as well because it's early hours of the morning, like over there in New Zealand, Australia, and the Philippines and that. So yeah, I know it's a bit of a mad time for you guys. But yeah, listen, I like I said, I'll be dropping that show on Monday. Then I'm not sure what's planned for the rest of the week. So I'll keep you guys updated. But yeah, until next time, enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully we can bounce back. We can bounce back. I think we got a week's break now till the next game, so hopefully the players can recover, and yeah, we go again. So until next time, guys, take care, and catch you next time.